Do you
So
deal with any kind of like digestive distress, like with a kind of what I would assume is like a higher fiber diet?
yes. So I actually have to watch because I can easily eat too much fiber, and that can become a problem.
Got it.
I'll just be on the toilet the whole day.
Yeah,
So
got it.
I can't eat like Raisin Bran because it will put me over my daily fiber, what I need for my daily fiber. So I do have to watch that a little bit because yes, fiber, to me, I do believe fiber is important, but I do believe just like with anything, you can eat too much.
Got
And
it.
so I do have to, because I'll get, I think if you eat too much fiber, it could cause flatulence, like all these different things. So you do have to be careful not going too much over on your fiber. I mean, like I said, I think the minimum amount of fiber is important to get. So you have that roughage and everything like that. So you're not just, so you have solid stools.
Got it. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely like when I was younger, I didn't pay attention to that, and I would be, wow, my stomach's filling. But then I had to really just educate myself on not getting too much fiber, and then I'd be like, man, I love Raisin Bran. I'm like, wait, I can't have it because I'm already getting all this other fiber
Got it.
from my diet. So I definitely have to be careful with that for sure.
Yeah. I would wonder if, I mean, I'm sure you figured this out, but like a simple swap of like, okay, I'm going to bring the fiber down tomorrow and increase the fat. Maybe have more of the coconut or the avocado kind of thing if that tends to help.
Yeah, for sure, for
Cool.
sure.
Got it.
Yeah, because I get plenty of fiber from all the vegetables and fruit I eat.
Got
Because
it.
there's so much fiber like in like a lot of the things I eat. So
Got Got it. Okay. How much do you know about the carnivore community as far as like ethics goes?
I mean, I mostly get the counter arguments to veganism when I
You
hear
do.
people talk about it, and I don't I so I've had so many discussions of because just being like this long, um, being vegan for this long, I've just heard like every single argument under the sun. And I just tell people like I can't change their ethics. But I mean, I don't mind touching on it and talking about it. But it's like I have my ethics, they have their ethics, and neither one of us are wrong. You know what I mean? So I don't like to tell anybody they're wrong or right about it.
Yeah, it's just it's been a little. I don't know if it's surprising is the right word, but being in this community for as long as I have, it's striking to know how many people are eating animals but care so much about animals and have this like push and pull within them that we have to grapple with this too. And I have to say, like, I eat conventional meat. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that my conventional meat at some point has probably gone onto a feedlot. At some point, it's probably not the best. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
out in nature taking an animal in the most like spiritual, religious kind of a way. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that. So I've said this before. I think it makes me somewhat of a hypocrite. I know a lot of people who only have grass-fed, grass-finished, or they're hunting their own game and they're taking in animals in the way that I would say is the most ethical. But the counter argument that a lot of people would say is like in the carnivore space, we understand that everything has some form of destruction to raise fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. Like there's things that you have to do that alter the landscape, that kill
Mm-hmm.
native animals, harvesting, all that stuff. And so the counter argument is like, well, if we can have one cow and have that cow have a great life, poop everywhere, take some of the carbon out of the soil, and then cause one death that then provides life for such a long amount. That's the way we kind of think of it and we approach it. What do you think about that? Like, I like where I think you're going to go because I think you said
Yeah.
like we have different viewpoints and maybe neither one is that wrong. I don't know.
Right. And I will say this argument is actually fairly new compared to a lot of the other arguments when it comes to this. And I do, and this might sound a little harsh, but I feel like it's just a justification almost to be able to eat the animal and be like feel good about it. And that might sound a little harsh. And so they're like, well, the vegans are being hypocritical because they're letting all these bugs die because of this wheat field, right? But we don't eat that stuff, so we're not having all those bugs die, but we're still killing these other animals. So it's just sixes. So basically, because what happens that I notice is a lot of people that are carnivore, they think that vegans think they're higher than them on a moral level. So they're trying to even out that morality. And to me, there is actually not. There's never going to be any moral uh, balance, because to me, like, I'd rather somebody say like, well, I just don't care. I'm like, that's what I understand. Like, if you don't care, that's fine. But it sucks because a lot of people actually do care, but they might just don't want to go to to them what's been put in their mind as an extreme belief when it's not really. But in their mind, they grew up thinking, oh, this is an extreme belief not to eat meat. When in a lot of the Eastern cultures, it's normal not to eat meat. You know what I mean? So I actually had this good discussion with a pastor, and we were talking about moral ambiguity, where not everything's just wrong or right. There's a lot of things in the middle. And I kind of think that's the way I go towards it. Like, people grow up different ways. People grow up in different religions, different moral compasses. You know, they get brought up differently, you know, and they usually get the ingrained that from them from from a young age on kind of their morals. They're not born with Nobody's born with morals, right? So they get taught certain things as they grow up in their community. But you have two different communities that believe two different total things. One might be mostly vegetarian, one might be like, hey, we eat a lot of meat because that's what we have access to. Who's wrong, who's right? Nobody knows. Really, they don't. So I think it's people trying to, for one, yes, there is vegans that put their argument on a pedestal, and then there is carnivores that put their argument on a pedestal. When they almost probably have more in common in a lot of different things, like especially when caring about nutrition, caring about health, caring about all these things. They probably have way more in common than they ever would think when they
Yeah.
just come together and actually try to like talk about it from, like, I want to talk about it from your point of view, Casey. Like, I want to talk about it like, why would he feel this way? Why would he believe this? Because he grew up the way he did, and then I would want him to like put himself in my shoes and see how I thought as well. So I think if people could do that, it would go a long way. Um, but saying that, I'm always going to have my the way I feel more morally, but it's hard for me to tell somebody that they're bad or, good and evil, the whole good and evil thing, which gets so overplayed. Because to me, I don't think anybody's inherently evil when it comes to like just generally. I mean, of course there is some evil out there, but that's why I would never say, like, I mean, most of my friends growing up all ate meat. They ate a lot of it, and I loved them all. I still love them all. I never judged them for that. They did so much for me, and we never let me being vegan and them eating lots of meat get in the way of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to that argument, I mean, it was almost more like a Ted Nugent thing. That guy, he talked about that stuff, and to me, yes, that does happen. Insects get killed. I mean, rodents get killed in that sense. But if you go to like a fully vegan community where they're putting their own, just like when you're talking about like grass-fed meat and like, the cow is nice and happy until it dies and then we eat it. If you go to like a fully like organic like farm that's not a factory farm, it's going to be the same thing. They're not killing insects. They're not using insecticide. They're not using all these chemicals. So if you go to like a fully vegan farm, you won't find all that stuff you find on the factory farm. And I think where most of us are against like all that, like it's just like being against like the big corporations, right? Like, I think we're all against that. Like, we're way against like the just on the mass level. I think we're all against that in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? So I think we're really almost arguing for the same thing. And I know that might sound weird, but I think we are almost arguing for the same thing, but just in different aspects. Because if I went to
Yeah.
somebody that like they only bow hunt and they only eat all that meat and I have friends like this. They only eat the meat that they use from the animal. You know what I mean? Just like kind of like indigenous people, you know, they use the whole animal and everything, which is super, you know, that's better than just on an assembly line, all these animals getting killed for no good reason. And they're not even using 80% of the animal, right? I mean, that's a travesty. It's sad. Like these animals are dying for no reason except for gluttony and greed. You know what I mean? So it does get sad. And then on the other end, you see these huge cornfields, and they've been. I mean, a lot of the produce doesn't look like it did even 60 years ago. Like if you compare them, they're so different because they've used so many chemicals and done so much crossbreeding and all this stuff. You know, it doesn't look the same. But that's because of also gluttony and greed. It's the same thing. So that's my point of view.